Jim, in the camera, we're going to be asking questions.
Okay.
All right, Big John, Master of Ceremonies. Tell us a little bit about what goes into planning an event of this scale and how the idea stage comes into an event like this as well.
So I've always been a big Star Trek fan. Before I was an anime fan, I was a huge Star Trek fan, and I've been to Star Trek conventions all over the country. And so a lot of the ideas that I brought to this are things that you see at a Star Trek convention. And so I started going to anime conventions. So we'll tie back to that. So I'd go to Star Trek conventions. People would be dressed up as Star Trek characters. I loved seeing that, but I was never into it. I never wanted to dress up myself, but I loved the workmanship and people put into it. Then when I started going to some local conventions that they say, oh, we're a comic book convention, so I'd go and I'd see these fantastic costumes that people were dressed up in. I was really super, super impressed with not just, at a Star Trek convention, you're just dressed up as a character for the day. But at an anime convention, it's like role playing, and it used to be a costume. You were putting on a costume, and probably about 10 years ago, it became cosplay, like role play and costuming, and it's really evident in an anime show that people are just super, super into it. They're into the character more than just dressing up as a character.
Right. They resonate with it a lot.
They resonate with it. They want to be that. And so I was really impressed with that, and I started going to more and more. I'd watch the cosplay contests. I was really impressed with it, with the workmanship and the passion behind it. And right before COVID, because I live here in Montgomery County, right before COVID, I was like, I wonder why Montgomery County doesn't have one. Why am I always going to Howard County, Ocean City, Annapolis, Fairfax? Why am I going to all these places?
Like everywhere but here.
Everywhere here. So then COVID hit, and it kind of went off the radar. And then when we're done with COVID, still nobody was doing anything. And I said, you know what, gosh darn it, I want to do it. I've worked on Star Trek conventions before. I've worked on Harley Davidson rallies before. So I had a lot of convention experience, but not with an anime show. So I decided first off the bat that if I was going to do a show, it wasn't going to be the same cookie cutter design. And that I wanted to have anime running. I wanted to have some panels. I wanted people talking about anime and cosplay. And then, of course, the vendors. Everybody wants the vendors, and they have a big cosplay contest. So we did that last year for one day, and we packed the house. It was at a gymnasium up the street in Gaithersburg. And so we decided to do it again. And I said, well, we got to go large. So here we are in this facility. It's a much more expensive facility, so obviously we need more attendees to come. But at the same time, we're trying to keep the price down so that families can come with their kids. Because who loves to dress up like Spider-Man more than a 10-year-old? So, and a family of 4, it's tough for them to go to AwesomeCon or Otakon downtown. I mean, those things are so expensive. So we try to keep it local, keep it family friendly, and additionally, we really tried very hard for the vendors to be local. So, a lot of these places say, buy local, shop local, buy local, all that stuff. So a lot of our vendors are from Montgomery County or Maryland. In fact, the vendor that traveled the furthest to be here was from Richmond, Virginia.
Okay,
now,
and that's not too bad.
But it's not too bad. But, you go to AwesomeCon and you talk to somebody and they're like, oh, yeah, we came from California to be here.
Oh.
Yeah, and so we're really proud that it's not only like a Montgomery County, Maryland kind of local thing for local people to come to and enjoy, but the vendors are local. Some of the vendors here, it's the first time they've ever vended. So they have seen it. They've been creative. They love art. They make stickers. They would sell them maybe on Etsy or whatever, but they'd never done a convention. And when they saw that when one was in their backyard, they contacted me and said, I want to try seeing if other people like my art and sell my art at a show. So there are a lot of things about this that are a little bit grassroots, a little bit homegrown and local, and keeping it local. And I'm really, really proud about that, for all of that. And your original question was what?
I don't even remember anymore, but I think that covered it.
Yeah.
I was sitting in
So, the other thing that really sets us apart from the other things is those are run by corporate entities. All these big conventions are now they're businesses. There are people that are do it 24 hours, 365 days a year. They are planning that convention, and it's their job. Right. This is all run by volunteers. We're a non-profit company. No one gets paid, and I think that being able to give back, getting good people, and giving back to the community, and keeping the price down. It's all evident in that. It's all evident in that we're not just some corporate thing. A lot of people, I know you guys have been walking around talking to people all day. I think that you've probably I'm hoping you got positive feedback about the way the staff is, how friendly everybody is, and stuff like that. We're not just trying to get your money out of your pocket, We're not. That's right. Yeah. So that's really important. Something that touched me, if I can segue into feeling good about something. So there was a young lady that came to our event last year, and she got interviewed, and I heard the interviewer and she talked about, she was probably in high school, and she said, even with my best friends don't understand me. They don't understand my passion. They don't understand. I can't dress like this and go to school. I can't dress like this and go to a movie with my best friends. They would still, even as my best friends, they would make fun of me. They don't understand me. They'd think I was weird. And she said, I can come to a place like this and everybody's dressed up. I am instantly amongst my people. And that and I feel safe and happy. No one's going to bully me here. And it really, really touched me that, that there are people out there. And I think that, we have that in all walks of life. We see that with gender equality and stuff like that people are looking for places that make them feel safe, that they are part of the community rather than just a loner that feels weird. Nobody should
yearning for that connection.
Right. And nobody in this world should feel weird, that they're an outsider. So I'm really happy to be able to provide something for everybody like that. And, maybe it's time, to come here and make some more friends. So if you went to AwesomeCon and you were one of these people that felt like, you were alone in your passion, and you met some people and they lived in Texas, I mean, you're not forming, you might form a bond that weekend.
Like sort of an internet bond even, like a
right.
not a
maybe,
real
but not around.
Yeah.
But if you come to something that's in your neighborhood, your community like this, and you're meeting other people that go to this other high school or whatever, I mean, you could socialize with them. Or even the same school, you may not even know it. You're like, oh my gosh, you're in my chemistry class. I didn't know. Yeah, I didn't know you were into Dragon Slayer.
Yeah.
A Demon Slayer. Yeah, I mean, just incredible.
Yeah. What has been like a significant challenge you've had so far that like maybe not everyone would kind of realize would be a part of like, curating a con like this?
Wow. Well, so many. So the vendors you're always concerned about your vendors because, everyone loves to see the vendors. They want to shop and buy and see the artwork and the plushies and all that stuff, the keychains. And so you want to make sure they're happy and that they're doing well. And that weighs heavy on your mind because without them, you don't have a show the next year. If it gets around the community that this is a bad show or they didn't make money or whatever, they're not going to come back. And you've got to have that. It doesn't pay for the space, but it draws people in because people are so accustomed to the cookie cutter design where you go to a convention, and I have to say, a lot of them it's a big room with vendors. Not having a stage, not having showing anime, not having panels where people talk about stuff like that. Just a big room full of vendors. So many people are used to that. Yeah. And I can't believe you pay $20, $30 to go into one of these places, and it's just a big room full of tables selling things.
It's like a big old just airplane hangar.
It's crazy. Yeah. It's crazy. So, and that's a double-edged sword. So people are used to that, and so they expect the vendors. So we have to have good vendors. That's fine. But you put on something like this, and I think, from my point of view, wow, you're going to be blown away by all our panels, by the guests that are here. Talking on stage, answering your questions, by having the anime playing constantly. You're going to be blown away by everything. But a lot of people, they're coming and they just don't get it. They're overwhelmed. They're expecting... They think it's just going to be a big room with vendors because that's what they're used to. And it's like, no, we offer so much more. There's so much more for you to do here.
It's like seeing colors I've never seen before.
Right. It is. It's scuba diving or something like that. Seeing the ocean floor for the first time. There's a whole new world here.
Like this can be done different and better.
different and
Yeah,
better.
yeah.
So I don't know how many conventions I've been to. AwesomeCon. I hate using AwesomeCon all the time, but they're local. Even though they're huge, they're local, and I go. And they've been very good to us. They've given us a free table every year to advertise our thing. They're super. I love them. But they'll get 100 actors to come, and those actors sit at those tables, and the autograph lines are long. Those actors aren't going and giving a talk. You can't ask them questions unless you're in line. And if it's a long line, nobody wants you to stand there talking to them. They're hey, I'm next. Get out of the way. I want to go. I want my autograph. Yeah. And the lines get all intertwined and stuff like that. It's just. It's a madhouse, and I want people. These are real people. These actors, they have stories, they have motivations, they have histories, they have projects that they're working on now that they want you to know about. And hearing them, a lot of times you'll go, "Oh, he did the voice for that. I didn't know that. Oh, I do want his autograph. I've got something that I want inside." So, that whole aspect of being able to hear what the actor has to say and that they're a real person is something I think is lost on the anime community. They're hearing the voices. They might want the person's autograph, but they don't know anything about the actor, and this is their opportunity to do it. And then, of course, the panels where you can come in and you say, "Oh, how to use martial arts to do with your cosplay to have a great action pose for photographs and stuff like that." What a great panel to go to do if you're into cosplay and you're what your character will stand and do with the sword or whatever, but maybe you're not expressive about it because no one's giving you any feedback. Right, so you can go to a panel like that and you can see somebody who's professional doing it, and then you get up and you try it, and they say, "Well, you shouldn't just hold your sword up here. You should be like ready for action or whatever."
Just giving them pro tips,
or not just like the sword and like this, but hey, let's get down into it.
Exactly.
And so
it's like you took the time to dress up. Let's just get into it, man. Like, get into it, dude.
Because people are going to ask to take your photo. They don't want to see you standing like this with your sword, right? They want to see.
It's like that. How I remember that character being.
I can't do it, but the Spider-Man thing where the leg is way out or whatever. Yeah.
I got bad knees, so I'll never be a Spider-Man. That's the thing.
But these panels are really valuable, and we try to do. There's a whole myriad of different topics and stuff like that people are talking about. We had one of our featured artists, Chris Flick, did a thing on how to draw a cartoon werewolf, and everyone was in there with paper and pencils and following his lead, a little class on how to do it. Our kids' room is fantastic. Jesse back there, he taught an origami class. He's taught how to fold your clothes.
Good skills.
I mean, it's a good skill.
I didn't know how to fold a clothes, so I worked at Macy's.
Right. You wouldn't think it'd be at an anime show, but hey, it's the kids' activity room, and he felt that these were things that he could do.
I've noticed that. I don't even mean to cut you off, but I noticed that I've been to a few cons, here and there, but I've never really actually seen a super kid inclusive one. This is a first of its kind for me, at least.
Yeah.
And this is it's wonderful.
And what's funny is, as I said, going back to the thing where people are kind of timid and standoffish about what do they do? They're actors in there talking. I'm not going in there. That kids' room has been packed all the time. Yesterday it was the busiest room all day. It was the kids' activity room. It's just
it must
crazy.
be fun in there,
Yeah. They're having a good time. So, did I answer your question?
You certainly did. Hey, John, you answer everyone's question always.
I've noticed a theme with some of the people we've talked to about sort of worlds colliding. Like, for example, you were a Star Trek guy. You didn't really dress up, but the fandom, the community, the environment sort of encapsulated there. I've been meeting people that they're more animation than anime. Yes. They're less cosplay, more graphic novel. Mm-hmm. How did you get ready for sort of worlds colliding there? How did you set the environment to make sure that every sort of niche could be captured, especially as some things are becoming more mainstream and some things are, for example, the tabletop games that's still maybe further out of reach for some people?
Yes.
How'd you get ready for that?
I think really just going to other conventions. A lot of it is you see what other things are doing, what is popular, what people want to do, what people are talking about on Facebook and Instagram, and then, saying, we really need to have that. One of the things I really wanted to do, and we just didn't have space, was have a bunch of video games that are all linked up. There are these companies that come to the conventions, and you can play all these fighting games and stuff like that. And it's a very popular thing.
Anime Studios.
Oh, really? Yeah, there you go.
Our guy right here.
But we just didn't have any space for it, so I didn't do it this year. But a lot of the things I did want to accomplish that I think that are popular at other shows, we are accomplishing. And also, every application for vendors that came through, I personally looked at them. I think that also separates us from the big shows is I didn't just rubber stamp because you wanted to send me money that you could have a show. I personally went to their Instagram account or their Etsy shop or whatever and saw what they were doing, saw what they were making, what they were creating, whether it was their own comic book or whether it was stickers or it was prints of their art or oil paintings of their art and things like that, and or books and comics. So I'm kind of hand-picked what we wanted to have here. And so I always had that in mind. I want to make sure we have a bunch of comic book people for the people that are going to come to a comic book con and expect comic books.
Right.
And I want to make sure we have some manga people. And I want to make sure we have people that are local and doing that stuff on their own, making their own comic books, making their own manga, that we have artists that are doing prints. So kind of having a hand in it, I think kind of helped me accomplish what you're talking about, is making sure everybody's represented. If that's what you meant.
Yes. and just to follow up on that, I was talking with one of your volunteers and, I asked them, how do you want to, as time goes on, of course you want to grow, you want to keep progressing. How do you think you will, or what are your strategies going to be to balance sort of that, okay, we're going to keep growing, we're going to keep expanding, keep getting better, but also making sure that we're not leaving anything behind, we're growing in an inclusive way, we're sticking to the core tenets that sort of allowed us to make the progress we made so far?
So I think that we've learned a lot. I mean, I've talked about what some of the ups and downs are and what's popular and what isn't. I feel that the Q&A sessions, even though they're not filling the room, I think that is the way of the future. I think that people should know the actors of their favorite characters, and they can come to a convention and hear them talk and ask them questions. So even though it wasn't popular, I would want to keep it going. My lessons learned would be how do I educate people about the fact that, the guy that voices whatever, Optimus Prime, he's in there. You can go talk to him and ask him questions and stuff like that. Allison is here from Pokemon. You can go and talk to her and hear her story and ask her questions about what it was like to voice a character on Pokemon. And so one of the things that we just started doing today is we tried to put a board together and saying that a person was going to be on the Q&A stage in 5 minutes, and try to get people into the room. So that kind of thing, that kind of dynamic is something that we need to work on. If we think these things are important and set us aside from different conventions, but that people don't understand it or need educating, well, who needs to educate them then? We do. We need to let them know it's happening, what it is, and that they should go in and sit down and have a good time and listen and ask questions. Same with the panels. It'd probably be a good idea to advertise. Sure, there's an online schedule and an online program that talks about this, but if you ignore it, if you're just walking around, you might stick your head in a room and not know what's going on and then move on. You see a vendor room, you know exactly what's going on in the vendor room, so you're safe and comfortable going in there. So I think it's an educational thing. And I think that as people, if they came to more and more events like this, they'd be more accustomed to it. And when they went to the mega show in a big warehouse, they'd be like, where are the panels?
Like,
where's that game room? Why aren't anybody sitting around playing? Why isn't there a game of Risk going on right now? Or Catan? Yeah, Catan. Yeah, and it should. I mean, those cons really should be ashamed of themselves the way they run it, especially in this day and age where you can buy most stuff online.
Yep.
So why pay $100 to go someplace and it's a big vendor room when you ought to be paying for the experience and the additional things, the community, the camaraderie, the friendship that you're going to make and stuff like that. That's what you should be coming to a convention for, not just to buy stuff.
John, you're a very inspiring man, sir. You're a very inspiring man.
I appreciate your time today, sir.
One last question, a real quick one, a nice and light question. As a man who is very seasoned within the cons and the con world, do you have a favorite cosplay that you've ever seen in your life? or the most interesting one, or most significant of any kind?
So it's funny. There is last year at Ocean City Comic Con on stage was a little kid, and he was Starscream. From
Was he really?
Yeah, and obviously he had no hand in making his thing.
Oh,
it was
no,
all
yeah,
dad,
yeah.
right?
Oh,
Yeah.
of course.
But this kid came on, and it was just this plastic suit, and you could tell it was Starscream. You could see the plane wings, everything like that.
like,
Well, his
okay.
dad must be some kind of friggin' NASA engineer,
Oh,
because
he
when
made
the kid got down on his hands and knees and crumbled up, and it was a little plane
It was perfect.
sitting on the stage, and it had flashing lights. I mean, it was Starscream
man.
just sitting there. It looked like a toy you could go pick up.
That's
And the
awesome.
kid must have been like 6 years old.
Just like crouch down.
Yeah,
just crouch down.
just
That's all you have
crouch
to do.
down. All you do. And the crowd went nuts whenever he did that. And he'd stand up and then he'd sit down. Oh my God, it was so awesome.
He was a Superman.
It was probably it was the best thing I've ever seen. I mean, it
that's
was
awesome.
really, really, really amazing. It's fun.
Oh, that's super
Yeah,
fun,
yeah,
man.
yeah,
But
yeah.
John, man, thanks for your time. Thank you
Hey.
so much for your time.
No, you're welcome. So I got one more thing.
Yes.
You do not have to use this, okay? But I want to explain. So last year, I don't know if you know anything, but do you know anything about our convention last year?
Not particularly. Just a little bit.
A little bit.
not really.
So as I said, I told you the story about how we were going to start this up, and that I wanted it to be a local community thing, Montgomery County. And I grew up here, and whenever you wanted to shorten the name Montgomery, you'd say Monkey County. Monkey County. It was Monkey County. And so when I didn't want to be like Annapolis, San Diego, Ocean City. And I wanted to have a name,
something
right?
significant, yeah.
So, here we are, RisuCon, that's a name. And I wanted to have a mascot. I wanted to have something that people could identify with it, so like that. So I came up with MonkeyCon. So last year's event was MonkeyCon. And I thought it was very clever, Montgomery County, MonkeyCon. And I started going to different shows and advertising and handing out cards for it. And I would get people of color coming up to me and say, why do you call it MonkeyCon? What is that all about? And I didn't get it.
Yeah, you're like, what's
I
going
didn't
on?
get it. So I'd say, in Montgomery County, MonkeyCon, da-da-da, and they'd be like, oh, okay, and walk away. And I'm like, okay, what's going on here? What am I missing? And it all of a sudden started happening more and more. And so about a month before our show, I had a conversation online with a fella that did a podcast, and he was, and he said, I really want to know what's going on. And I explained it all, and he said, this is really setting people of color off, and they don't like the name. And I'm like, it's a month out. I can't change the name. I can't do anything. I was so apologetic. I'm sorry. I didn't get it. I don't understand it. And so we had the show. As I said, it was very popular. But during the show, so at the end, when I was walking around talking to the vendors, if the vendor was a person of color, I would say, not only did I say, hey, did you like the show? Did you make money? Would you come back next year? I would say, we're thinking about changing the name. And they would be like, well, why? Well, I love the monkey. I love MonkeyCon over there.
Yeah.
And I'm wearing a MonkeyCon shirt, just like the RisuCon shirt. And it had the monkey. My daughter drew the monkey. It was a little Tanjiro monkey. It was a really cute. And and I'd say, yeah, I've heard some feedback that people don't like that we're using monkey. And they were like, but it's Montgomery County, da-da-da. So even no matter how supportive they were, my last question was, would you wear this shirt out with your family to the mall? And they'd think about it and they'd say, no, I wouldn't be able to do
Like,
that.
now that you put it that
because
way.
once you take it out of context, the convention, the Tanjiro, people in a mall seeing that, they'd be like, what is that?
Like, what's going on here?
And that really made me get it. And, I mean, I'm first to admit, I suffer from white privilege all the time. I'm a big fat white guy, and, we've got too many of them in Congress and all that stuff. And so it's hard for me to associate. I'm the first person to admit it, that I just didn't get it. But I got it. And so within 3 weeks, we were already working on a new name for this. And so we went, and we still wanted a fuzzy little cute critter and stuff like that. And we looked at what's native to Montgomery County. We looked at deer and fox and squirrel and a couple other things. Fox was a very cool name. And in anime, the Japanese culture, the fox is a very mystic being. And we wanted to use that. There's a place in Wisconsin that's, I forget what the name for fox in Japanese is, but they've been using it for 11 years. We didn't want to violate anything, so we checked on Risu, which is squirrel in Japanese, and nobody else is using that, so we settled on RisuCon, and we're very happy with our new logo. I do try to bury the past. I mean, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to dwell on it. Some people were like, well, just keep on explaining why you chose it. And I don't want to explain all the time.
Yeah.
That's not a good show thing. You have to keep explaining the name. Just
you have to explain the joke. It's not funny.
It's not funny. Yeah. And so it's just like, let's just change the name and be done with it. No one minds the squirrel. Nobody minds the squirrel.
If you have a problem with a squirrel, man, the problem's with you.
Yeah,
exactly.
And I've heard people, there have been people here this weekend that I've heard that said, oh, you really upset the blurred community by calling that MonkeyCon. It was not my intention. And I just, I want, if you guys do use this segment, I really apologize for using it. I was stupid. I mean, I just didn't get it. It's,
I got you.
And we took immediate, as far as I'm concerned, we took the most immediate action we could. I couldn't change the name. I had all this material, and it cost me thousands of dollars to change the name because we had all this stuff with MonkeyCon, and it all went into the dumpster when we changed the name. But there was just, I don't want to upset anybody. I don't have a mean bone in my body, except I hate Donald Trump. But but anyway, so I wanted a chance to tell that story. So I haven't really been able to tell that story to anybody, and so I'm really glad since you guys had the time to do this. And I thought there are questions out there, and if people are still hold any animosity towards myself or the staff or the convention, I really just wanted to get it out there and explain myself, and that if the people are mad, it's like, well, if you want me to change the name, I've done it.
Yep. There's not much else you can do.
There's not much else I can do, and just say sorry. I didn't understand it. I didn't get it, and I'm sorry to use something that was pejorative, and that let's move forward because we want to put on a good show for everybody.
And you're doing an excellent job, man.
Well, thank you.
This is an excellent convention. You're doing a great job.
Thank
you so much for your time, John.
Thank you very much. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, man.
All right. Yeah, absolutely.
All right. We're out.